Hello, this is Colin, and I'm here with Lockdown Movie Reviews. And I just want to start this off by saying we're all here and we're kind of in lockdown. Also, will say, even after they're all gone, I'm going to lock down all the best reviews about any movies. Whether we get to go back to the movie theaters and they exist afterwards, or just whatever you found on television or anything. If there's a movie you want me to review for you, please, in all ways, leave a comment, anything else, and like and subscribe. Seriously. First one I'm going to do, honestly, I was just flipping through everything, said this is one my grandfather told me about. I got it on my cell phone right here. Sorry for the low graphics or anything else. The Way West has Kirk Douglas, Robert Mitchum, Richard Widmark, and I gotta say, it is an excellent movie from just a person who likes old westerns. And I will say, this one actually made me think about doing the movies for review. I enjoyed the movie very thoroughly. It has a lot of situations that you can look up nowadays in a lot of different areas, from Masonic lodges to public events back there. It is based off of true events, and it does take the Oregon Trail. A lot of people credit this movie with actually making the video game The Oregon Trail into a reality. Now, I have to say, Kirk Douglas was at an all-time high, as far as I could say, with everything in his performance. He shows so many depths of his character out there, and granted, they are on the clustering of his more powerful side, his ability to manipulate the situation, look good as a political leader, to actually almost forcing people into a form of insanity. And you could see that his grit and determination did borderline on that which was fanaticalism throughout the movie, and he had such a good way of pulling himself back and forth between it. And then in doing this, ended up costing him his life towards the end of the movie, and didn't complete the journey all the way back through. Now, he used an old trail hand that was played by Robert Mitchum, and I will say, I loved his performance the best. It shows Kirk Douglas's character, the senator, coming over and finding him, saying that he was the best, asleep in his little tent on the edge of a river with a string tied to his shoe, catching fish. This is something that almost everybody sees and is played over and over in cartoons, probably from something that was historically accurate, going back to something might have even been based off of this movie. It was absolutely wonderful. And in and of itself, it was a rather wonderful situation, watching the different parts come up, that he, going blind and everything else, could still follow the trail and didn't go all the way to Oregon when they got to the river and started floating the wagons down, and went over and started heading back. Like he said it's one Native American tribe, had some of the most beautiful women. He quit riding the trails because his first wife, a Native American woman, died. And it gave him purpose to think about going back and trying to find a couple of wives for himself. And just ending up like that. There's a powerful scene in it with one they call Brownie, the son of Richard Widmark, his character in the movie. Is Elijah Evans. Mr. Evans, they call him a lot in the movie. And I will have to say that he turns around to him and calls him Brownie and says, I'm going to give you this necklace. It's always brought me luck. And he proposes to a young Sally Field in the movie, who plays her part very well, even though it's a minor character. And in and of itself, he ends up marrying her, says for him to keep the necklace, Brownie does, and it's something that he had with his wife, and kind of like it's passing a torch on to a next generation. In and of itself, there's more numerous actors in here that are so wonderful in the parts that they played. There's the fact of people going and having to try and make sure that they don't settle down at a different fort that is offering up British pounds instead of anything that has to do with the United States currency. There's another situation where there was a Sioux young child shot accidentally in a wolf skin when they were having some Sioux over. They then fled from them, and then they had a trial. And this one man who deflowered the character Mercy McBee, played by Sally Field, that Brownie later ended up marrying, admitted to shooting him. They were all around drinking. He thought it was a wolf. The Sioux chief came over and everything, and they had a trial and a hanging. And it showed a lot of in-depth, just in that one little part of Sioux and Native American culture that most people don't know about and everything else. Was kind of common knowledge when the movie was made and times before then, over how there were certain animals that were actually herded as in a domesticated situation. One most notably, the white buffalo. And it had a major representation off of it, especially as it kept going on and becoming rarer. Now, moving along with everything in this, I think it was a beautiful movie, had a lot of heartfelt situations in it, and is one of those great classic westerns that you probably should see. And honestly, with it, if you're into what the Old West and some of the culture of it, there's a lot of things that are there that are just hidden right behind or else in the scenery or in the props and costumes and everything else. And if you ever look it up and can find the complete history of it in several of these different areas, you can find so much out there that is very intricate underneath all the situations of it. And the quote that I'll leave you with from the movie is not really trying to say anything politically here or anything. Actually, there's two. Kirk Douglas, Senator Williams' character, after his son dies in it, in a accident out there, has himself against his wagon that he has left. And he has a slave with him. And in this, he tells him to whip him. And he says, "Whip me. You heard me." And the slave says, "You can't teach a man anything with a whip." There is another that if you find any of the things back behind anything else, where they say that Robert Mitchum's character, Dick Summers, after the marriage of Brownie to his woman, he says maybe we're all a little Native American. And I know that has a lot of connotations back through everything, but when my grandfather took me through all the things that led up to the creation of the movie that's kept over in studio archives and everything else, it comes up with a very profound significance in it. And if you care to research it anymore, I'll let you look at it that way. And it is just absolutely interesting with everything that goes on with everything out there. For everything that I can say, it probably is a little dated for everything. I'd say they'd probably make a remake of this Western before any others out there coming up, unless it's just they have the name for something. And it's probably one of those that if they remade it, they'd probably go even deeper into it, since Bayo is from the days when it was such a time of movies. It's an incredibly long movie for its day and age, 2 hours and 2 minutes. And I'll leave you with this: like and subscribe. Colin Dawson and Lockdown Movies.